Support for this episode of the PowerCast comes from Mark Bell's Slingshot. Check out the all-new website at howmuchyoubench.net. Bench heavy with no pain with Mark Bell's Slingshot. thepowermagazine.com. Powerlifting apparel for people who lift heavy-ass weight from 8manstrong.com and bodybuilding.com. Bodybuilding.com is the world's #1 fitness website and supplement store. Bodybuilding.com also has free fitness plans for every fitness level. Visit bodybuilding.com today to become your best self. Jason Big J English of Big J's Extreme Fitness Gym and YouTube channel joins us for number 153. We talk about how he fought back from a freak accident that happened while he was in the Army that threatened to keep him from ever walking normally again, his decision to get into bodybuilding and fitness and eventually start his own gym, what it was like to train with Ronnie Coleman and Branch Warren back in the day in Texas when they were just getting started, and how an over 50 fitness world veteran with a background in bodybuilding, powerlifting, strongman, and martial arts approaches YouTube collaborations with some of the top fitness channels. Do us a favor and like and share this video and enjoy number 153.
Recorded live at Super Training Gym in West Sacramento, California, this is Mark Bell's PowerCast. Alongside Silent Mike and Jim McD, here's your host, Mark Bell.
What's going on, kids?
That's her cue to talk.
Yeah.
Oh. Me?
Somebody.
Jay,
Mark Bell.
Jay, did you get the script? We emailed it to you?
Yeah.
You have that?
Yeah.
Can you get it out of your pocket? We'll go over that right now.
I'm actually looking at it right now. It's a picture of Superman.
I was just about to go to the bathroom. I was just about to do a number one, and number one quickly turned into number two.
And who does number 2 work for?
Yeah, not for me, apparently. What do you think? What do you think happened? Are you a doctor or anything? Can you help me out here? You've been around the game for a long time, the fitness industry. You must know something about indigestion.
You went to the bathroom. Mm-hmm. You told us earlier that you coughed, and then
all hell broke loose.
You've been wiping ever since.
Yeah. Probably like 5 wipes, and it looked like I wiped right into a bucket of icing, chocolate icing. Just looks like I smeared icing on toilet paper.
I don't want to assume things about you, Smelly, but do you just pee sitting down all the time now because you don't know?
I should.
Yeah,
I should.
Just because you don't know.
I'm probably there.
I'm there. It's easier.
And we have 2 guys in their 50s here on the show today, I think.
Yep, I think so.
You guys just go right for the seat.
Yeah, you might as well.
Well,
But
during
as long
the
as
night,
there's
for
one
sure.
of the handicap handles on the side.
To get back up?
Or it's got a 6-inch lift kit on it.
Or you could wear the knee sleeves on the way down.
Oh, yeah.
Knee sleeves save lives.
Yeah, they did. They saved your life.
They did. They saved my life.
What was the quote yesterday?
I should start shitting with them, too.
You wanted to start the podcast on the toilet bowl.
I did, and I actually went ahead and waited for you guys in there, and the cameraman never came in. So.
You just filmed yourself in there? Or?
Well, the cameraman came. He might not have gone where you were going, but he came.
That's for another podcast.
That's private link. YouTube Red.
In the description box.
Red Tube U.
Red Tube U.
Anyway, you got a poop story for us? You were talking about something yesterday.
Yeah, I've got a couple. But,
a few.
Yeah. My favorite one, though.
How many years in the fitness industry? Let's start with that, because that will give people a good idea of how many poops we're going to be talking about here.
Well, there's probably... I started lifting in 1982, so that's about 15, 16, 20, 30, 4 years, I guess.
Yeah,
and
that's
then,
a lot of years.
From our boy Alan Thrall, we're starting to learn about a lot
military
of service.
poop.
Yeah, servicemen have a lot of poop stories as
Service
well.
poops.
So you were in the Army for how many years?
10 years.
10 years. So then who knows, what's that, 30-something years fitness industry, 10 years Army. There's got to be something going on the back end.
So to speak.
Right. You just can't quit a good thing, right?
And then you've owned a gym for 2 decades.
22 years.
So there's got to be a lot of toilet problems in a place like that.
Toilet. Matter of fact, I'm never going to my toilet ever again at my gym.
Just too much protein powder and stuff.
Yeah, you just don't do the protein at the gym. You wait and either drink it way before you go to the gym or on your way home.
There's a lot of humidity down where you are too.
Oh, yeah,
that causes
Texas.
problems.
There's hot poop.
Yeah, that causes steamers.
A lot of
hot,
steamers.
sweaty
Steamers.
poop.
A lot
That
of
causes
steamers.
problems.
Where toilet paper is probably not going to do a whole lot.
Well, in the military, when you'd be out in the field, first and foremost, if you were in the 70s or 80s or 90s, I really don't know what the MREs have nowadays, but there was always a little square of toilet paper, and it was round, like there's a little brown.
It was brown already? That's actually genius. Let's get into that before we move on to your story. Why is toilet paper white?
Maybe for health reasons to see if you have a problem.
I think I know why toilet paper's white. You can make sure that you're done.
Right.
I guess,
Exactly.
but if it's brown, then it would be okay, I think.
He
I think
wore the brown pants.
Yeah, I think it should just be brown.
Also,
And why is
again,
underwear white?
Well, because they give you such a small amount in the military, it's like, okay, you're
Underwear
done.
should never
It's
be
brown
white.
and brown. No, and the next part of the story is after you got through with your toilet paper, which was one square, you just start ripping the bottom of your shirt, and you can tell how long somebody's been. I'm serious.
Shirts are starting to disappear.
Yeah,
Guys
well,
wearing
you
crop
can just-
tops.
You just know how long somebody's been in the field by how short their shirt was when they got back. That's no shit.
Well, it's actually a lot of shit, but still.
That's amazing.
That's
We
a
have a
true story.
friend that pulled that method, Matt Vincent.
Oh, yeah.
Nothing to do with the military. He just had to shit on the side of the road and ran out of options, so he ripped his sleeves off.
That's easy.
Yeah.
And it's very comfortable, too.
That's
Have you ever wiped your ass with your T-shirt?
No, I can't say I have.
It's way better than toilet paper.
Is this a
I have a lot of extra shirts laying around. I started using that.
Is this a tri-blend, or does it not matter? Cotton, 100%
There was no
cotton?
such thing as tri-blend back when I was in the military. It was just, 100% cotton. It feels great. I think a tri-blend might be a little scratchy.
What
if
use
you
a
have-
T-shirt like a handkerchief, maybe?
Yeah,
Just kind of keep it around all the time. Just wipe your ass with it. As
Or
needed.
just wear it. That's why I have these 4XL shirts. Start at the bottom and just work your way up.
sweat wicking, poop wicking shirts. Yes. Yeah. Just moisture absorbing.
Poop wick shirts.
That's pretty terrible. So you had your gym for about 20 years down
22
there in
22 years.
Texas.
Mm-hmm. Texas.
And why'd you start a gym?
Because I was in the military with a lot of powerlifters and bodybuilders, and one of them, George Ulrich, he was Mr. Germany back in the 80s, and I used to go to his gym. And I thought,
Mr. Germany. How awesome does that sound?
Yeah. And he had his own gym. It was called, obviously, George's Gym. And he sat around and ate protein and drank beer and worked
got
out.
jacked.
And I thought, oh, yeah, man, that's exactly what I want to do.
That's the lifestyle.
After I worked my ass off in the military for a while. Mm-hmm. It's obviously a different story now, but
Right.
it was something that I really, wanted to do. So I did it.
Right.
Where did you train before that?
What do you mean?
Do you have like a particular gym?
Favorite gym?
Yeah. In Texas, there's a bunch of gyms everywhere.
World
yeah?
Gym, whatever
Yeah.
the hell.
Well, I left for the military right after high school, so it was
Okay.
just, I worked out at the
Base.
field house.
Gotcha.
Yeah, there in high school, and then obviously joining the military, there was, weight rooms that were available for us, and then of course, the more I hung out with some of the bodybuilders and powerlifters, we found off, I don't want to say camps, off post gyms.
Yeah.
Right.
And, that's when all the bodybuilding and powerlifting started, because you run into more people that were interested in the sport instead of,
Right.
just playing Uncle Sam.
But you had some good gyms, not like your commercially get you a nice towelette.
There was no such thing as,
Yeah.
as any of the commercial gyms back in, when I was in the military. It was the Gold's gyms and the powerhouses.
Right.
And, those
Those old
franchises.
powerhouse gyms
Yeah,
are pretty
man.
cool. And
Yep.
World Gym.
Yep. World Gym, right.
You kind of remind me of a throwback to like when I used to go to the gym when I was a kid, and there would always be the kind of older guy there to like mentor everybody, kind of keep everybody in check. I always tell the story of, I'd go in the gym and bench press, but when this one particular guy was there, he wouldn't let me bench like shit. He wouldn't let me go all that heavy, and he's like, you need to learn how to fucking bench. And I was like, well, I don't know how to bench. And he's like, okay, well, that's a good start. At least you recognize that you know what the fuck you're doing.
Right.
And he started to kind of show me, and he was like, just use 95 pounds. Like, just keep pushing 95 pounds with good form. Don't be off balance, because I'd always do the typical little kid thing or newbie thing where you're pushing one arm up and the other arm, all around. But
I
the
still
goal-
do that, by the way.
yeah, Marcus still does that. We got to get rid of that. But the goal for everybody was similar. Everybody just wanted to be big. Like
Right.
that was kind of the main thing. It wasn't really bodybuilding. It wasn't really powerlifting necessarily. There was no like fitness craze didn't really kick in yet. People weren't really obsessed with losing weight, although aerobics was kind of around a little bit. But I just recall like all the guys that I was around, all the people I knew, and my brother's friends and stuff. They all just wanted to get big. Everybody wanted to get big, and there was a lot of guys like yourself coming in with flannel shirts and jeans and doing some heavy ass deadlifting and some boots and shit
Work
like that.
boots, yeah.
Work boots.
Yeah, I have throwback Thursdays at my gym where I use the flannel shirts and the blue jeans.
That's amazing.
Seriously, watch some of my videos.
Yeah.
I lift in jeans all the time. I know the owner. It's cool. Yeah.
Working out in a pair of jeans is amazing.
Yeah.
What,
I don't squat in jeans. I know there's a couple people out there that still do squat in jeans.
Yeah, they say it feels better actually. Kind of works as like a suit, right?
Yep. Denim squat suit.
What really got you into fitness? Like, what was it? The military, having people around you that were into lifting or sports, or
No, I guess it's just like everybody else. You see the magazines and you see the muscles, and you don't obviously have that type of muscle. And I was a farm boy, so I was always kind of strong, throwing hay bales and building fences and working, around the clock. Or I don't want to say around the clock. When the sun went down, we went to bed. When the sun come up, it was time to work.
Right.
But seeing some of the pictures, I just thought, wow, I want to try that out. And started in junior high and high school weightlifting, and just transpired from there.
Were you stronger than most people?
I was.
Yeah, just from the farm boy strength.
Exactly.
Probably.
Yeah, and that's the truth. You get somebody that's never really done anything, and they play in their video games, and they work in the city, and maybe they can fight or defend themselves, but they can't throw hay bales. It's a lot different. It's progressive overload.
Right, and drinking whole milk and eating eggs and shit like that
Exactly.
probably made a big difference.
Eating cows and
Yeah, right.
chickens.
What kind of farm was it?
We had crops. We had cotton and corn, and we had some cattle. We had a few chickens. So just your regular quote unquote.
Got brothers and sisters and stuff?
Yeah, got a couple brothers.
Was it kind of just part of growing up? Everybody worked on the farm sort of deal? Or?
They were a lot younger than me. So,
okay.
My original family, we had split up at a younger age, and my mom remarried, and so I was the only one for a while.
Right.
And then my two younger brothers came on right when I was in high school, and then moved on. So I was kind of the only one that did that while I was around. Of course, they continued when they got older, but yeah, it was kind of a one-man show.
And then you played football, right?
Yes, sir. Played a little bit.
How did that go?
Really good. I was the best, but I wasn't the worst. So I'd say I was an average player.
Right.
Had a lot of fun. Linebacker and fullback.
Cool. I think you mentioned to me yesterday that you had a chance to play at Nebraska or something like that, right?
Yeah, had a good chance to play, and I went and got in trouble. I don't know what was going on, but I was always getting myself thrown in jail. So
Right.
They didn't like that, so they said, you know what, you probably don't have
It's
a
all
chance
political.
in here. It is.
They
It's
just,
very political.
They just chose you just because of your face.
It
Probably.
was a racial thing,
See? Yeah. They just grabbed you and said,
sending the white guy to jail?
that's what happens when the world's against you, right?
That's right. The whole world was against me, and I decided to join the military, and I said, see ya.
Right. So you were getting in trouble a little bit here and there. Is the military something that helped kind of change your path?
I mean, I was raised right. I'm not going to say that I was not.
Right.
It was just one of those, you work your butt off. It's just like a kid, you raise your kid to the best of your ability, or you look at parents that run their family with an iron fist, and all the kid wants to do is get out of there and do what they've been wanting to do forever. Right. That's what I did. I was working my butt off forever, and I thought, okay, well, let's just slap some people around and drink a whole bunch of beer and,
Right.
See if I can't get in more trouble than I've already been in.
You were mentioning to me yesterday that you were in a lot of pain. You had a cracked vertebrae or something that you were unaware of or something like that, right?
Yeah, when I was younger, I always had back pain, and that kind of leads into another story of being kind of addicted to alcohol and pain pills. Even when I was younger, I was kind of in a situation. I know I'd fallen off a hay raft every now and then, or the back of a trailer, or you throw a bunch of stuff around when you're too young, but you want to get it done, and you don't complain about it. And so after I joined the military, I never really said anything about the pain, because they wouldn't let you in if there was something wrong with you. So, and I really wanted to join the military because I didn't have any other direction in life but to adult, and I really didn't want to do that either. All the males had joined the military in my family, so I wanted to step up to bat. When I finally got hurt for real in the military, they had done some x-rays and said, hey, man, you've got some serious scar tissue around, the lower vertebrae. It looks like there's been some fractures down there for a while. And I was like, well, no wonder I'm an alcoholic. So I can actually say the beer was okay.
Yeah, right. Was it an easy transition to stop, or was it something you had to really fight through?
Who said I stopped?
Yeah, last night I was really...
Taken back by all the alcohol I consumed. No, it was a deal to where, and I just did a video on this, talking about pain pills and drug addictions and whatnot.
Did you get a chance to see Prescription Thugs?
I did.
Brothers film?
Yeah,
oh, cool.
An amazing film. But in my situation, it was, again, to where I never really wanted to admit that I had a problem, because I didn't want to be a problem. I didn't want to cause any, body any concern. So I just quietly drank, and then I started getting in trouble in the military. For some reason or another, I just wanted to fight everybody. I don't know why. It just, you know, you go to a bar and people would talk, and then you talk back. And back then it was fun, you know. Nobody wanted to kill each other. They just wanted to fight. So I'd gotten in a couple of fights, and I'd actually gotten arrested a couple more times. And they said, it looks like you have a problem with alcohol. And I said, I do not have a problem with alcohol. I drink just fine. So they sent me to a track 1. And it was basically, okay, you got to admit you got a problem, and you'll stay here for a couple of days and not drink. I was like, this is easy. I can go 2 days without a drink. As soon as I got finished, I went by to Class 6 and picked up some beer. Got in another fight. I don't know why. I just liked to fight back then. I'm a lover now.
Were you young still, 20s? Or?
Oh, yeah, definitely, yeah. So probably
it's fairly common for younger people to have some aggression, you know?
Some.
You're
I've been arrested like 5 times, you know, in 1 year.
Well, that's a lot. But I think it's pretty common for people to be like overly aggressive when they're younger. Just you're trying to find your way. That age is a weird age too. I think you're trying to figure out what the fuck you want to do with yourself.
Right. Well, they sent me to track 2, which was a month-long program. And I, again, did not have any problems with it. I formed myself into the mindset of, okay, I'll do exactly what you tell me to do as long as I need to do it. And when I finished, I went to Class 6 and got another case of beer to celebrate that I graduated the Alcoholics Anonymous class. But it finally got to a point to where, you know, I had been involved in an accident, which we talked about last night, got run over by a Humvee, crushed, fractured, and tore up 22 bones.
Damn.
And had some surgeries, and obviously with
How'd that happen?
I was
Humvee running over you.
I was asleep in a sleeping area after we had been active for a couple of days straight, and they said either sleep, eat, or shower, or do whatever you got to do. And I laid down in place. I was so tired. You know, I'd been up for 3 days, and I woke up with a Humvee on my back.
Wow.
Kind of a rude awakening. And
It's one of your own men or something?
One of our guys driving through the area.
Shit.
And it rolled up my leg, broke 2 bones in my leg, rolled up my back, fractured 2 of my vertebrae, cracked all the ribs on the left-hand side, both shoulders.
Lesson learned, do not fall asleep
Do
on
not
the road.
Don't fall. No, it wasn't in the road.
I'm messing with you.
And then, of course, it shattered the elbow pretty bad. So I've had several surgeries on both shoulders and the left elbow, hence my, you know, restricted range of motion. And, you know.
Bullshit lockout.
That's right, my bodybuilder lockout. And so, you know, lots of pain medication, and it was easy to get lost in that, and you know, just to not be bothered.
Justify it. Yeah.
That was again still in your 20s.
Still in my 20s, yeah. Still very ignorant.
Yeah.
And you know, it took me a while to realize that either I'm going to have to, you know, shit or get off the pot, one or the other. I got to figure out what it is I want to do, because I was depressed. You know, you can imagine just going from
probably a lot less information, I would imagine, back then.
I'm sure there's nothing.
20 some odd years ago about pain medication, right?
Almost 30 now. 25 years, yeah.
Yeah, I'd
yeah,
imagine
for sure. In the military, just like here, fix yourself
Right.
with these pills and then perform for us. Which
I do find it interesting that the military was, they were the one trying to help you get sober. Mm-hmm. I find that pretty cool.
Yeah.
I mean, it's because you were
because I was causing problems.
Yeah, it was causing problems.
And I was beating up other soldiers. So.
Yeah, they didn't care about you. Yeah.
Right.
They just wanted me to stop.
Right.
Please stop him.
Right.
Could you discontinue this behavior?
Right. Exactly.
After that,
ASAP.
Like he can be a good soldier if we could just point him in the right direction.
Yeah.
Instead
Just
of
Tasmanian
fighting,
devil.
Instead of fighting our own guys.
I know this
fight
may
somebody
come
else.
to a surprise to a lot of people, but yeah, I was kind of a hellion when I was younger. I decided to change my life, you know, about 22 years ago, and decided to back off everything. And
Thank you, Jesus.
thank you, baby Jesus.
you ended up getting more serious in bodybuilding, and actually competing for a while.
Yeah, I did a couple of competitions.
That
did
was
okay.
after all this?
Yes, yeah. And the main reason, and this is a story in itself, the main reason I wanted to compete, and I did some strongman competitions in Europe, and I did some powerlifting, you know, non-sanctioned type meets, and definitely some bodybuilding shows that were sanctioned.
Non-sanctioned, so you can't look him up.
Right. So basically, I did this because the doctors told me I'd never walk right again.
Yeah.
They told me that this accident's deeming you non-deployable, and it sank me deeper and deeper in my depression, because you can't be a soldier, you can't deploy, you can't jump out of an airplane, you can't go and do what you're supposed to do in the military.
Yeah. So that did end your serving. Yeah. I mean, you were kind of done.
I stayed in for another 2 years just to recover, basically.
Right.
And then they just kind of scooted me out.
Yeah. And then what do you do from there? Like, where's your head at?
I kind of got into four-wheel drive shops and, helped own and manage a couple and started, getting into four-wheeling and rock climbing and, actually competed in my first show about a year and a half later after they told me I wouldn't be able to walk again, just because I wanted to prove somebody wrong. And then I thought, no, this is pretty cool. Now I finally got those Arnold Schwarzenegger muscles that I wanted. Not really, but close to it.
Right.
Yeah, so it's somewhere along those lines. And it was a lot of fun because there's a different outreach. There's a different type of friendship that you can develop, from soldiers to high school friends to college buddies to, bodybuilders and powerlifters. It's a cult in every different aspect of it. But the older I get, the more I hang around everybody, we're all got one focus and to be a better person,
Absolutely. I mean, do you think all these different things, sounds like you were, good at a lot of different things. Sounds like you knew a lot of different things. It wasn't like, you're an idiot, that you're short on like knowledge or anything.
I'll give you $20 later, thanks.
But do you think some of this stuff, being able to fix cars and train your body and turn your body into whatever, either powerlift or bodybuild, do you think some of those things helped you shift gears in terms of where your mind was at with being violent and stuff like that?
Oh, absolutely, because you feel a sense of accomplishment, right?
Yeah.
I mean, because bodybuilding and
you
powerlifting,
have to kind of at some point just be like, well, I don't suck at everything,
right?
Like, I'm pretty
I kind of still do, but I'm,
yeah.
it's still on the
kind of
fence.
look around and say, okay, well, I'm pretty good at a bunch of different things.
Yeah, and I can talk.
Might as well do something.
Yeah,
with it,
I could talk, but there's a sense of self accomplishment, and if you don't get too absorbed with yourself because you made the accomplishment, and you can hopefully pay it forward to people that are, just like I had the older guys watching me when I was lifting, telling me that was wrong and you should do better. And I thought, when I was that age, I always said, man, I really hope that when I get their age, I can be that guy.
Yeah,
that's
cool.
It's not that I've tried. It's just it's been like a revolution or an evolution of who I've become.
What happens now when somebody pisses you off? You kind of just you kind of say a little prayer for them that you're not the older self. Say, hey, you got a free pass. You got away with one there, but I'm just gonna let it go and move on.
I don't know, man. I kind of think about Mark Bell and Silent Mike and what would Mike do?
What would Mike do? Mike would run away with his hands over his head screaming.
I'd talk my way out of it.
Yeah.
Just talk my way out of it.
Please, Jesus, no.
I would cry. I'd be in tears.
No, I think everybody struggles with who they really are all the time.
Yeah, it's confidence, huh? My theory is world peace is the answer is confidence.
Yeah.
Because if you're confident in yourself, you're not going to go fuck. I don't care what fucking Big J has to say about me because I'm confident in who the fuck I am.
Yeah, you don't care what you're doing.
Yeah, who the fuck cares?
Yeah, who the fuck cares about Big J, right?
Yeah. It's true.
I guess the conflict becomes when he's doing something that you do have a problem with, like he's picking on your friend or something like that.
Yeah.
If he's beating the shit out of somebody, then you're going to have to try to figure out a way to stop it or something, or at least yell at him or do something.
I still think the confidence is just to walk away. Grab your buddy and walk away.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Before it ever happens,
Yeah.
Yep.
Do not put yourself in compromising situations or positions.
Yeah, you can. A lot of times there's plenty of opportunity to get yourself out of them before.
Well, there's opportunity not to be there.
Right.
Nightclubs. Seriously, I used to bounce in clubs for years. I mean, it was a great source of income. And I managed a company that we had, bouncers all over the state or all over the cities, and it was just a no-win situation, because there's always alcohol and drugs and women and parties, and it's just.
I just saw the Rock's new film, Central Intelligence, and there's there's the best depiction of a bouncer that I've ever seen, or especially more modern day. There's a scene in the movie where they walk into a bar and the bouncer's just sitting there the entire time on his phone like this.
Oh no, yeah.
And then they walk out of the bar and the guy's doing the same thing both times. Even without the cell phone, a lot of times guys are not paying attention back in the day.
Right.
Damn. So you have you have a supplement. You have a supplement, but not a supplement line, correct?
Well, there's two. I've got a pre-workout, and an amino acid. I'm calling it an intra because of the dextrose in it for the delivery, and there's a little bit of electrolytes as well.
Well, you've been around the bodybuilding community, and you trained with guys like Branch Warren and Ronnie Coleman and stuff like that. So did some of that knowledge kind of help you stumble upon the supplement industry?
I think no.
Rubbing elbows with some of these guys? Okay.
Not really. I think thinking that I knew what I was doing before I met Branch and Ronnie and all those guys at Metroflex, and being humbled by training along with them, alongside them, and of course, every day driving, an hour to have the opportunity to train with monsters like that or beside them, kind of opened my eyes to, you really don't know what you're doing. You really don't have that intensity. I've been called Mr. Intensity for years, even before I met those guys. When I met those guys, those were the real deal. You know? I got a good story about Ronnie. Can I tell it?
Yeah,
absolutely.
The first time I met Ronnie.
Lightweight.
Yeah, we're squatting. Branch and I are squatting.
Pull up some footage of Ronnie Coleman. Get us fired up here.
Yeah, exactly. There we go. So when I had been training with Branch for a few months, and of course, I was getting stronger pretty quickly because I always wanted to be as good as a person with me, and that's something that everybody should instill upon themselves instead of going, "Yeah, I'm not the biggest, strongest guy, so I don't want to train there." Well, then you just close the door to your growth.
Oh, absolutely. I had Eric Spoto come to our gym years ago, and he did a 635 bench for a double.
Wow.
And he said, "You're one of the few people that ever just trained right with me." And I was like, "Yeah, I don't care if I get fucking crushed." He absolutely destroyed me. He benched, well over 100 pounds more than me, and did it for like 2 reps. So, but you're absolutely right. You have to be around people that not only want to get better, but you have to get around people that are actually better than you.
Right, and just to reiterate, you don't want to try to keep up with the Joneses. That's what people fall into all the time. He's got a nicer car, he's got a nicer watch, he's got nicer clothes, he's got a nicer house. Just continue to be a better version of yourself by looking at people that are stronger or better or have more. Not in jealousy, but just in self-betterment. But the story with Ronnie, there's Metroflex right there, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, did you have clown pants?
I had clown pants.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
Fanny pack?
I've pooped in my clown pants.
Oh my God, we'll get to that later.
Yeah.
Ronnie first, then pooping.
Ronnie first. Okay, so we're squatting 585 to death, Branch and I, and he's over there doing his thing, and he looked at me and he said, "Man, how come you so strong, got little bitty ass legs?"
That's great.
"I'm not really sure, Mr. Coleman, why?" And he said, "Well, we're going to have to change that training up a little bit." And so I actually went from small legs to bigger legs because of, what Ronnie had suggested, higher reps with the heavy weight and lunges. And we pushed Brian Dobson's pickup truck outside to the street and back. And that was a completely different type of training system than I'd ever followed before. So that's when I really got into the bodybuilding training.
That when you were training with Branch and some of these guys was during while you were a competitive bodybuilder?
Yes.
So late 20s, 30s? How old were you? Give us a time period.
Late 20s into my mid 30s.
Okay, and this was early 90s?
Yeah.
Cool. So Ronnie was kind of in his
prime.
Yeah.
Actually, this was before Ronnie had won the first Olympia.
Okay, so he's on his up and coming kind of.
Up and coming, yeah. And then I actually used to run his shows. I used to do a lot of expediting for the whole state of Texas.
Oh, cool.
In the 98, 99.
God damn, he's huge.
Yeah, he looks
big dude.
You still keep in contact with those guys pretty well?
Oh, yeah, because, Ronnie has a supplement as well. So
he
and I, we meet a lot of the, the events that Texas holds. And we talk about old times all the time.
Those guys are still in Texas, Branch.
For sure, yeah. I see Branch training at Metroflex quite often. I'll stop by Metroflex every couple of 3 weeks because I do travel a lot and see some of the older guys and see some of the new up-and-comers that are doing the same thing we were doing 20 years ago, which, cool. There's a lot of intensity at that gym.
Yeah. Now, you mentioned, by training with these guys that it was kind of a whole nother level, of intensity. What do you mean by that? Can you kind of walk us through and maybe describe, some of your first workouts with these guys and maybe the moment that you kind of recognize, like, shit, man, these guys are on another level?
Well, the only time I'd ever puked in a workout would be like at high school when, they'd make you run 4 or 5 440s and then go and do some power cleans. And then it was 120 degrees in the shade and they wouldn't give you water and they'd make you low crawl and bear crawl 10 football fields. That that's an intensity that you would expect to puke on.
Right.
Since then, I'd never really puked in a workout.
Yeah, it's just lifting weights.
Yeah, you just lift weights. Who could puke lifting weights?
Right.
Yeah, wrong. I think my first deadlift session with Branch was there at Metroflex. It had to have been 120 degrees, literally. Have you ever trained at Metroflex, Jim?
I've never trained there.
You need to. Yeah. Your building is like air conditioned back there compared to even my gym. But we were deadlifting, and I got this weird feeling in my stomach. I felt like I'd eat too much ice cream, and I had something wrong with my stomach, and I said, Branch, I'll be right back. You're not going to go puke, motherfucker, get back here. I was like, no, I just need a drink of water. And I sat in the bathroom and puked my guts out for a good 5 minutes, wiped my mouth off, and went back out there and started training. So I think that earned me a little respect.
It's hard to do that because, like, it's not just, you don't just throw up and you're fine. I mean, it does make you feel better.
Mm-hmm. But you've lost all of your
you're
gains,
shaking.
bro.
Yeah, your electrolytes
your gains are gone, bro.
That's right.
Yeah.
All your proteins out of you.
Right. But, you know, there was a respect there. And that, Brian has told the story several times. You know, this young man came to the gym, and Branch said that, you know, he's an up-and-comer, and maybe he's going to be part of the family. And, you know, I trained there for 10 years straight with Branch.
Oh, that's awesome. What were the actual training sessions like? Were they fast-paced? Were they slower-paced? Were they real high rep, heavy weight?
No such thing as slow.
Right.
No such thing as pace. No such thing as you know, a program. You know,
Right.
I could always, and you know, I still train about 60 to 70% of that now. You've seen some of my videos. I
Right.
still try to train pretty hard, but with Branch and then Jay Moore and then Joe York and Josh Todd and Ulysses Harrison and Gus Carter. I mean, the list just goes on and on. There's a lot of amazing bodybuilders out there. We would all kind of meet there and sit around and look at each other, and then, you know, somebody would grab a weight, and then it was fast and furious for about an hour to an hour and a half. There was no breaks. There was yelling, screaming, slapping, kicking, puking, and it was done. And then there was some, you know, bodybuilding muscles built.
Right. Any fucking around? Any just like having fun, or was that like maybe a little bit before a training session, maybe a little bit after?
I got to tell you this, man.
But no real grab assing going on.
No, none at all. Branch would always get pissed off at me and Jay Moore. I can tell you, if he's listening to this, sorry, Branch. I know you hated it when I laughed around, but I would always fart a lot during the training session. And I would laugh, and then Jay Moore would always fart a lot.
Yeah.
And we'd sit there and laugh.
Fart brothers.
Yeah, the Fart Brothers. And, you know, Branch would giggle every now and then. Have you ever seen Branch giggle?
No,
He just kinda,
I've
his
never
head just
met him,
kind of shakes, and he looks at you, and he's ready to either pull a gun or slap you. Like, that's funny, motherfucker, but
He
keep
looks
going.
intense. He
He's
looks like
very
an intense
intense.
guy,
Yeah, very intense. But, you know, we would just
Ronnie
fart all the
Coleman
time.
has a supplement called Yeah Buddy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's his pre-workout.
That's awesome.
Yeah. It's like 5,000 milligrams of caffeine.
Blow your face off.
You know what's interesting watching this video is I always kind of think, you know, there's only one Arnold, you know, and there'll never be another Arnold, but there's also only one Ronnie Coleman.
That's right.
And there'll never be another motherfucker like that.
Yeah, the king, man. 8 times.
Yeah, I mean, he's so fucking big and so shredded and so fucking strong all at the same time. I mean, he's pushing around some weights.
Anybody that's ever won the Olympia more than twice or, you know, more than once definitely had something different to bring to the stage.
Right.
Would you agree?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Look how small his waist is. He got that belt cranked down so tight.
Well, honestly, his waist is probably 40 inches. He's just got
Right.
70-inch shoulders.
That'll do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's 80 inch around chest or whatever the hell, right?
Right. I remember seeing him wear, you know, his suits when he'd come into the. And how many wheels is that?
A lot. I don't
It's
know.
like.
gotta be
I
8.
hope you put this on the video. It's got to have.
It's got to be 8 or 9.
There's got to be at least 9.
There's a lot on there. Those are those thinnish plates too, you know.
There's at least 9.
8 or 9. Yeah. I mean, you don't get to the end of the bar with 4 or 5 plates.
No.
And then here's about
So,
to
when
deadlift.
you
What is
guys-
that? Like 800?
I don't know, 300-pound plates. That's 645. I can't even do the
You-
math.
you were,
That's
you were-
695.
You were mentioning to me that you would train. You guys would train pretty heavy.
Yeah.
I think you were mentioning to me in the squat you guys were doing 585 or 675 or somewhere in that range. When you did these workouts, did you still just warm up to those weights?
Oh yeah.
And you do.
You'd
you-
have to. There's
And you
just,
do sets of 10 all the way? Because I know like bodybuilding training is so much different. In powerlifting, we often do, I refer to it as cheating the system, where you just do like singles and doubles and triples on your way up, even if you're going to do a set of 6, because we're trying to reserve
right.
the
Yeah.
energy for
Yeah.
the bigger sets. Or even sometimes, even if you're going to do 3 sets of 5, we might only do singles.
doubles or singles. Yeah.
Yeah, almost all the way up. So we really hold on to that energy. But bodybuilding's quite different, right?
Way different, you know, because again, you're going for the pump. Obviously, you want the muscles to look good, but you also want to tear it down just a little bit so you could build some muscle. So we'd start out with a wheel for 10, and then 2 wheels for 8, and then 3 wheels for 6, and then 4 wheels for 4, and then we do 4 all the way up until what we were working for, you know, 6 wheels, 7 wheels, 8 wheels, whatever. But nowadays, being a little bit older and more into preservation of the physique,
Right.
I do double sets. So I'll do 10 reps with 1 wheel on the squats or the bench press, and then I'll do a second set. And I think, Mike, you saw me doing this.
Yeah, just warming up a little extra.
Yeah, just do a second set of the same weight for half the reps. So
Right,
I'll do a set of 10 with 1 wheel, and then I'll do a set of 5 with 1 wheel. Then I'll move up to the 2 wheels or whatever I'm warming up, and set of 8 and 4.
Preach a little bit of that in here is just kind of use some common sense. If you don't feel right, it's not going to all of a sudden feel better by adding more weight.
Exactly.
So take your time. If you need to do 135 for 5 sets,
Yeah,
then do
so
it.
be it. Exactly. Yeah.
maybe that's what the day calls for. And then also, you might get a warning sign that it's not going to go at all for that day. Like your
Right.
shoulder might be like, or your tricep or something might
Little
kind of
tweak or whatever.
just tell you like today's not a good day for you to be doing this. And
Yeah,
then you
Mike
might-
said he was having a bad day yesterday. Did you end up having a good day?
Yeah, it was all right.
Yeah, right on.
I was a little tired.
We
but-
pushed some weight.
Yeah, we got some stuff done. My triceps are sore.
Yeah, I was surprised that I was able to hang with you.
Yeah, right. I'm surprised I get to hang with you.
you guys are over there slanging it.
Yeah, we were mean mugging and slanging
Mm-hmm. You guys are going
with some
crazy.
donut power.
How
Extra
many,
donuts.
with these bodybuilding style workouts, how many different movements would you do, for say like chest
Oh
or something like
God,
that?
yeah. This is probably going to raise some hairs on people's necks. I mean, we'd probably do anywhere from 8 to 15 exercises.
I think we did what? Just 4 for just triceps.
Yeah, and that was a lot for
Yeah,
you guys, right?
Yeah. I'd probably do 1 or 2 heavy and be
And
done.
total set range, negating, I guess, like the warm up. But what would you say it would be in the 15 to 20 set range?
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
oh,
because
easily.
you do 8 exercises, you do a minimum of 3 sets per probably, and there you go. That's already
And moving
already up
into a
there.
different exercise, it was the same body part. Still do warm ups for that body part
Correct.
because it's a different angle. I mean, even when I was younger, I was smart enough to
Right.
warm up a little bit.
Yeah, and sometimes even if it's just one set, at least you moved around in that new range of motion, right?
Right, exactly. Get the blood flow and whatnot. Because even I try to tell people that come into my gym, or even when I see them at a facility, and they jump underneath 225 immediately, they start slapping plates on, and they haven't
Right.
even stretched or done any mobility, and they're 20 years old or whatever. I tell them,
Right.
hey, son, slow down. Once you get to my age, you go, I don't want to hear that. And I was the
Right.
same guy. I would just get out of the way, old man.
Yeah.
I'm strong enough. But it will catch up to you.
Right.
I'm telling the listeners right now, man, if you're not hurting yet, you will.
Oh yeah.
So take it easy. Warm
You
it
might
up.
as well take precaution. Throw on a belt. You don't just throw on a belt because you're in pain. Just throw one on. Just
a little bit
weight
of core
starts to get a
support,
little
a little
heavy.
bit
Just
back.
throw on a belt. Even
Yep.
if you don't really love the belt, just put it on light. That way, it gives you some protection. Or
Yeah,
wrist
and
wraps or
everybody's heard
whatever you
this
need.
for so many years, but live smarter. Live
Right.
smarter. Use your accessory movements to warm up with, and then go into the actual heavy movement with a mindset of, okay, yeah, I'm trying to build some muscle, I'm trying to get stronger, but I'm also trying to be healthy.
Right. Now, how do you recover from these workouts? These are, you're doing giant amount of exercises, giant amount of sets, and I know, the listeners right away are going, steroids.
That's what I was going to say.
We
You stole
just
my
use
answer. Here's
Ample
Gus
amount
Carter.
of steroids.
That's Gus the Bus right there.
He's no joke either. What size is that guy?
Yeah, he was a pro too. He won the Masters Pro back 4 or 5 years ago, maybe 10, 12, 15 years ago.
Time flies.
Time does fly when you're having fun. Yeah, but in answer to your question, in retrospect, you'd always have to fuel yourself. You don't want to get in a car and put a quarter tank of gas and try to drive, 600 or 300 or 400 miles. You need to put a full tank of gas in there. You get empty, you fill it back up.
These guys talk a lot about nutrition and things
a
like
lot
that.
of Texas beef.
Here
Yeah.
at Metroflex Gym? No, we would just cook it and eat it. There's
There
not
you
much
go.
talking about it at all.
Right. Just
No
just
nonsense, Jim.
Right.
I think this is Ronnie's 800-pound squat here that we're about to watch.
This is one of the most controversial things on my YouTube because Stan Efferding came in and did something similar. People don't realize that Ronnie is wearing a suit here. And then the way this is sequenced, everybody believes that he was depleting for a show at the time that he did this, but I don't think that's really true.
Well, he's definitely lean, but yeah, he's probably not like 3 weeks out or something like that.
And everybody says he was, it was 3 weeks out. It's like it's such internet lore at this point. Also,
It's amazing. What's the concept behind some of those kind of partial range of motion as it pertains to bodybuilding?
I knew that's what you were both looking
yeah,
at.
not wanting to hit depth, I think. Maybe.
No, I'm not even talking about his squat depth necessarily. I'm talking about the constant tension that he's searching
Yeah,
for.
he did dumbbells a little similar.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, only because these guys get these injuries, and we're not trying for bragging rights or white lights or records. We're just trying to build,
That's a great point.
something that's
Not training for white lights. That says it all, really.
Yeah.
pleasing to the eye on the stage. Who cares how much
Right.
you bench or deadlift or squat? And I hate to say that on this show.
Yeah, well,
but
and-
as
yeah.
a competitive bodybuilder,
Right.
nobody give a shit what you benched. It doesn't
Right.
win a first place trophy, and that's what the bodybuilder's chasing. Now you get into the powerlifting. Who gives a shit what you look like in the mirror? You want to be strong, right? It's two
Well,
separate worlds.
And
but I like blending them both.
yeah. Well, and also on the same note, when you're doing these partial range of motions or assisted lifts, sometimes Sometimes you guys get a little bit of a spot, right? It's pretty common,
A
right?
lot of a spot, like you did yesterday on those 150s. I think I lifted
it's
maybe
pretty common, but
10% of that weight.
you lift more weight, and you do it more safely. And like you said, you don't really care. It's not that you don't care about how much you bench or squat or deadlift.
The
It's that
judges
you
don't, though. That's what I was saying.
It's that, you don't care if it's done to a T as you would do it in a powerlifting meet.
Right, for
so
sure.
maybe you wear straps when you're deadlifting. Maybe you, when you're doing a squat.
If you're a pussy.
Maybe you get a little bit of a spot when you're doing a squat or something like that, right?
Right. And it's two separate sports, but you are lifting weight to, better the joints and the muscles and the tendons. And again, I love bodybuilding. I love powerlifting. I love strongman competitions. I love martial arts. I love boxing. I love all of it because it takes lifting weights to make you better in any of that. Any martial artist will tell you that they lift weights.
What were some of your best numbers back in the day? Bench, squat, and deadlift.
Oh, God. 550 bench, 701 squat, and 711 deadlift.
Nice.
Strong, man.
What about things like overhead presses, dumbbell work? What kind of weights would you use on we got Ronnie banging out 200s and things like that. What kind of weights are you using on some of these other exercises? I saw you use 150s yesterday.
Yeah. Well, with you helping me.
Yeah, a little bit of help.
with a crane overhead pulling.
Hey, man, I did
we had
professional
reverse
wrestling.
bands.
We can work this as long as we want.
Yeah,
buddy.
we had
I
reverse
didn't help
bands
you
on
at
the
all.
ceiling and jacks underneath it. I don't know. Here's something that I really want to mention. My body is definitely a lot different, physique-wise when I was competing.
It's sexy.
Thank you very much. We'll talk a little bit later about that. So,
We can talk right now about it.
what do you like about my body, Mark?
It's very thick. I like those pecs.
No, I think that I've changed my momentum into, grabbing the 150s and doing, sets of 4 or 5 overhead to being able to grab in the 120s and doing 20 reps overhead.
Right.
And I can still do that now.
Yeah.
But to me, in my, juncture in life, there's no reason for me to try to go for 1 rep maxes anymore.
Right.
It'll just tear you up. The older you get, the more you got to be careful. I'm driving around a 66 model pickup truck, so I don't want to put a 1-ton load in the back of a half-ton,
Right.
So I go for as heavy as I can handle for at least 10 to 15 reps. And that still gets me into an overload to where I'm trying to maintain what little muscle mass that I have left. Does that make any sense?
Yep. Makes
a lot
sense
of
to me.
sense.
When you say little, you're underestimating just a little bit.
So when it comes to the supplement line that you came up with, how did you kind of end up? How'd you end up starting that?
I guess so. Back when you were asking me if Branch and Ronnie and all those guys helped
If they had a
me,
little influence or something like that.
what we would do for pre-workout would be like a pot of coffee. We'd ride together and then grab several cups of coffee on the way in.
Mike, make sure you're writing this down.
Lots of caffeine.
Top secrets.
Lots of caffeine. I was always real big into taking aminos before and after. And so here I am now with a pre-workout and an amino acid.
Even kind of a long time ago when you had to take those big giant horse pills.
Yeah, big giant amino acids. Because, Arnold did it, so why not? He looked good, so I wanted to do that. And it's a staple in my program.
I remember Lou Frigno in Pumping Iron. He's got all those pills.
Well,
on
he
his-
had like 70 bottles, right, on that dresser top.
Yeah, and he's rocking the shit out of that flannel. He looks amazing.
Flannel shirts are the shit. Let
He's
me
got
just tell
that
you
shit
right
tucked
now.
in. He's got the small waist. He's got the corduroy jeans on.
Showing the hamstrings. Yeah.
It looked amazing.
Little tight butt action.
Oh, yeah.
The bell bottoms.
Oh, here's Coleman now getting in his police uniform, which looks ridiculous.
Yeah, that flak vest makes him look like he's about 350.
Does he need it?
Can you imagine getting pulled over by Ronnie Coleman?
It's so scary.
Yeah, I think
He's probably so nice, though.
Ronnie is one of the nicest guys.
He's
I've ever
probably
met. Just so
super.
down to earth. Have you ever met him?
I've met him, but I don't know him at all.
Not really a conversation.
No.
Yeah, he's got the
conversation.
Texas accent and just really cool, laid back. He will tell you what he's thinking, but in the nicest way. Kind of like you.
Right.
You're a white Ronnie Coleman.
There we go. The white Ronnie Coleman, Mike.
The black Ronnie Coleman.
That's right.
Now, just always real humble and down to earth. If we're working out and it's his set, he'll just say, "Hey, you guys get out of the way. It's my turn." Instead of "Get the fuck out of the way." That's a Branch Warren
Right,
version.
yeah. That's great. Yeah. So you came to the conclusion to start some of this stuff because
There was, I guess, about when I started my YouTube channel in 2009, so that's been, 6-7 years? A couple years into it, I was approached, by several supplement companies asking me if I wanted to represent them. And I had sponsors back when I was competing and doing well, and they would just, give me free supplements.
Right.
There was no such thing as, being paid or doing commercials or advertising or anything. But I was taken back. I was actually very surprised that somebody wanted me to represent their company, because I was the old washed-up, gray-headed, fat, has-been guy, and it was cool. I was honored. So I started looking at some of the companies and, testing and, doing videos and whatnot. And one company reached out to me that was very nice, and they offered to put me on contract. And I said, hey, why the heck not? A couple of Mailbox checks every month and, have some fun.
Yeah.
So the more I did that, the more other companies were reaching out to me saying, hey, why are you representing somebody else when you can represent yourself? You are kind of somebody. You've been around for a while.
Yeah.
It might do pretty good. And so I took that route after I'd worked for a couple of companies, and here we are today. So I've got a pre-workout and I've got an amino acid.
What do you do with it? Is it just online, or do you have this in stores locally or around the country?
There's several stores around the country that carry it, and go to my website, bigjsextremefitness.com, and you can find it there. Shameless plug.
Yeah, no, that's okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just asking from a business perspective. How do you? So you make a product, right? Mm-hmm. We'll let people figure that part out on their own. Make a product, and then how do you get it out to distributors, or how's the game work a little bit?
So this is a great story. Back when I opened up my gym 22 years ago, there's no such thing as social media. I didn't even have a computer.
Yeah,
or know how to.
I would be so lost.
So there was no social media, and I didn't have a computer, so I didn't know how to go online to do anything. It was knocking on doors and having flyers shoved into windshield wipers, and just knocking doors and going to businesses and saying, hey, I've got a gym. Would you please come work out at my gym? And you would spend literally hundreds of dollars a week or month on newspaper ads, yellow book or phone book pages. And
Yellow Pages, right?
Yellow Pages. And, if you were lucky enough, you would have one of the local radio stations announce your stuff. And, you'd have to just beg and pay lots of money. But, you get $2,000 into a month, and hopefully you get 3 or 4 members from that. And it's a losing situation unless you have deep pockets and tons of people helping you advertise with smart ideas. And
You're a real personable person, though, so that probably helped. That probably helped your business quite a bit.
Well, thank you very much. I don't see myself as that. I was a fighter and thrown in jail for something. But yeah, I'll take that.
Well, you're nicer now.
Yeah. So it was a grind, right? I mean, you always had to be on your toes trying to advertise. So
a new gym would pop up and stuff too, right?
Yeah, exactly. I was the only game in town for just a few days, and then other gyms would pop up, and it was tough. So getting back to what your question was about what you do after you get a supplement. Nowadays, you have social media, Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, YouTube, and
that's your way to distribute.
That's exactly the way to distribute.
You're your own distributor.
So you post a picture of a product. Now there's a lot of companies that have a lot of advertising money that they spend, and they hire people that look good to wear different clothing. And
I tried it with Silent Mike, didn't work.
Yeah,
it's not built enough. He needs to build up those pecs.
What about those panties that you were wearing last night, Mike? You think
You
you'd
like
wear?
that?
Yeah, well, you think you'd wear those in one of my ads?
Sure.
Strong panties.
Strong panties.
Talk to my
You could be
manager.
Extreme. Extreme panties.
Is he cheap?
Oh yeah, he's really dirt cheap. You can get him to do just about anything, as long as there's a camera.
Yeah, I do a lot for cameras.
Yeah, we'll do some dancing, and you'll pour the product on your body.
Yeah.
Have somebody lick it off.
Extreme.
On the nipples? Is that
Intense.
what we're talking about?
Intense twerking.
In twerkity. Yeah, so you basically just post a picture, and there's been a lot of companies approach me and say, hey, let us take you to the next level. Let us advertise for you. I have athletes contact me all the time. Hey, I can help you, this, that, and the other. But I really have decided not to go that route and just keep it very personal. Any store that picks up my product, I make an appearance. I go by there and do free samples and hang out and shake hands. And I just like to keep it at that level. I'm not really interested. I don't want to be the guy that says I don't want to make any more money. That's not me at all.
Oh, yeah.
I do like making a monetization for the product. But I do want to try to meet every single person that has the product in their store and everybody that lives in that area.
Yeah,
I like that.
That's
so,
really
and I'm at that situation to where I can do that now. 10, 15 years ago, my kids were in school and stuff like that. I wouldn't want to. But now my kids are grown. They're both either graduated college or in college. And so I've got the freedom to travel a lot.
What are your kids into?
My oldest one is a vet tech now. She graduated college 2 years ago, played all the way through school, soccer on a scholarship.
Awesome.
And my youngest one's playing for Mississippi State University now.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and she plays soccer too.
So you're running around the soccer practice back in the day, huh?
Yeah, man. I was the guy that got kicked out of every fucking game. I was still a little angry back
Everyone's probably always like, oh, no, here come these.
It's that guy again. Yeah, I literally did. You can ask my kids; they were embarrassed for me to come to the games for the first few years, until they got into the elite clubs and the team clubs, and they
saw
had
the other parents were the same.
Well, no, you have to sign a contract that you won't yell at the refs or start trouble with the parents. I was like, "Fuck this contract, man.
I'm not signing.
I'm that guy." Yeah, so I calmed down, but literally, the last high school game my daughter played at, I was like, "Okay, fuck this. I'm going to be Big J, the guy that everybody's going to remember." So there was a kid on the other side of the field, and this was the last playoff
A
game.
girl, not a kid.
No, it wasn't a girl. It was a dude.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, they played co-ed?
No, they were playing on the
Oh, sorry.
But this is like the visitor
viewer.
stands.
Got you.
Right,
I
right
thought you were
off
yelling
the
at a little girl. The story was
Well, I
about to get
have
really
yelled
good.
at little girls before. No, so there's a guy dressed up in a cat outfit. He's like a cat, you
Right.
know? And so he's yelling, "Hey, number 12! Hey, number 22! Hey, number 13!"
He's like heckling or something.
Heckling, extreme heckling. And so I finally stood up about, 30 minutes into the game. "Shut the fuck up, you pussy!" And so, the referees looked up, and the game stopped. It's almost like a record player, And the parents looked over on my side and was like, "Yeah." And then the other parents were like, shrieking in their seats. And then the heckler left. Never said anything else. So that was my last call of, you can't do that at a college game. They got the cops that'll take you out, So.
Well, at least it worked.
One last oorah.
You're not a young buck, and YouTube is for the youngsters. It seems like that's who kind of dominate YouTube. Other than our boy CT Fletcher, some of the older guys, it's more of an uphill battle. How did you kind of figure out, that was going to be a good idea to even have a YouTube channel? Are your kids kind of pointing in that direction or something?
No, we have our mutual friend Stan Efferding to thank for
the
my YouTube
Rhino.
channel. Yep, the Rhino and some of his rants. I think actually it was a guy that had bought a slingshot from you guys. Strongman Seth was the first guy to say, "Hey," and this is how it went. He come to my gym, and he'd been going to my gym since he was in junior high. And this is like 15 years into it.
I like the nickname Strongman Seth.
Yeah. He
His name's not even Seth.
Yeah, it's like David Johnson or something like that. So he come to my gym. He goes, "Hey man, have you ever seen Stan Efferding single hand deadlift a certain amount of weight?" And I said,
like 500 pounds or something.
Yeah, right. And I said, "I know Stan, but no, I've never seen that. Did you see him?" Because I never knew what YouTube was. I didn't even have like one of those phones that you could watch YouTube on. Mm-hmm. So you can imagine my amazement. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so he said, "Well, here it is." And he pulled the phone out, and I backed up like, "What the fuck is that?"
Yeah.
It's the devil. I've never seen TV on a phone before. And I
Yeah.
was like, "Give me that." So I started watching it. It was, of course, Stan doing that. I was like, "Damn, that's pretty good." He said, "Let me do some videos for you." And I said, what are you talking about? He said, "I want to shoot some YouTube videos for you." And I said, nah, I don't want to do that. And, well, 6 years later,
Right.
I'm pulling. I won't talk unless the camera's out. I'm not going to lift anything over 50 pounds unless the camera's out.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm exaggerating, but yeah, I love YouTube for several reasons. Number one, I'm friends with all the bigger channels. We can shake hands and have fun and collaborate. They call me the king of collaborations for 2 years in a row because 2 years ago I had over 100 collaboration videos with different channels.
Wow. That's cool.
And that's what I always pride myself in, being able to work out with people that are, way less than half my age, and not necessarily hang with them, but have a good workout with them. Martial arts videos, boxing videos, CrossFit videos, powerlifting, bodybuilding.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, just having fun with different genres, different types of, programs, and again, just having fun. And my whole purpose for doing YouTube continually now is just to bring everybody together, man. Safe and positive intensity. That's my motto.
You didn't have to learn how to use computers necessarily. You got other people managing that for you?
I can turn it on now. I can type my name.
It's plugged in. I'm going to hit this button here and see what happens.
Yeah, I did not know, of course, but now the more you work with it, the better you get at it. So, I do all my own editing. There's all the great videos that you see. I did not do. Somebody else recorded and edited them, but I do all my all my videos on my cell phone.
Yeah,
use iMovie.
Yeah, the cell phone is very simple to use.
Right. Well,
Even
Furious
us fat
Pete,
cavemen can figure it out.
Right. Furious Pete always dogs me on my quality he's got 4 million followers. I've got like 30 followers. And so he always dogs me on the quality and says that the content's good enough that if I just, raise the quality of the video, I might get more followers. But again, that's not what I'm here for. I just want to have a positive.
It's fun to have more followers, but that's not the main concern.
Right. More followers you get, the more you're opening yourself up to, having to defend what your beliefs are.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So if you have, I like having people on my side strictly because I'm here to help. I'm not here to try to brag about or, call anybody out or talk about the world news. You can turn the TV on and talk about the world news or watch it. I just want to show some videos of some old guy that's been there and done that and still trying.
Nowadays, do you coach anybody? You got any friends or family friends or anybody that you coach with some lifting?
There are just a few because I really don't have the time to do it.
Right.
Because I'm always traveling. But I used to do that quite often at the gym.
And when you have your own gym for 20 years, I'm sure you kind of walk through and probably see different people doing different things, and you might suggest certain things to them, right?
Yeah, that, and then there's a whole lot of people, that are training at the gym that'll ask, and I love to help,
right, that's
constructively as I can.
What about your daughters? You ever get them to lift at all, or
they lift on the college programs and the school programs? I would implement every now and then when thi'd say, hey Dad, I want to come work out.
When they ask you something.
I wasn't that dad that was like, you're gonna have to lift more weight if you want to be somebody, you worthless worm. I wasn't the dad that would take him out after 6 hours of practice and take him outside and make him practice for 6 more hours.
Right.
I told my kids
just three
more. Just about 5 is all. But I told him, your job is to perform well in school sports and don't worry about the money until you get a job, and then you can worry about the money then. I want you to be a kid. I don't want you to have to work your ass off like I did. Your job is soccer, and that paid both their ways through college.
That's cool. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you supported their journey, and then it ended up paying off because they both kicked ass in soccer.
Major support.
They both got scholarships?
They both did, yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That really is. That's a really cool accomplishment.
And it wasn't anything I did. I didn't teach them how to be any better. They just listened to great teachers. And I just supported every step.
Were they competitive with each other growing up?
They hated each other. Pretty much hated each other.
What's the age difference?
5 years.
5 years. Yeah, that would kind of makes it hard, where you're not necessarily battling for position because you're the age there's an age gap, but when someone's that much younger, sometimes they're kind of like in your business as you're getting older.
Yeah, just the normal stuff.
Yeah, right.
I hate you. You're stupid. You're ugly.
Right.
Just the normal stuff the siblings say. But now they're best friends. My oldest one gets married in a few months, and the youngest one's very happy for her, and it's just it's an exciting thing to see. It goes by way too fast, man.
Right.
Hate that they grow up so quick.
Well, what are you up to next? What's going on next?
I'm kind of on a tour right now, like not an endless tour, but I want to keep the ball rolling because I was just in Canada for 8 days. I did a little tour up there. I spoke at a cancer awareness event and bent a couple of horseshoes to kind of wake them up and talked some positivity and dropped by some supplement stores and make appearances at gyms. And
what's the cancer awareness thing about?
Basically,
how'd you get involved in that?
Well, a couple years, when I was an athlete for a certain company that's in Canada, they had invited me up to, just hang out with them. And, I have a thing for horseshoes. I like to bend them. And so that, kind of wakes people up and that gets them into the mode of listening to somebody for at least 30 seconds. And so basically they will
bend them together? Basically?
No, apart.
Like twist them, right?
It's a twist, so they oppose each other. So you want to kind of flatten it out.
Right.
There's a couple of YouTube videos on there. But anyway, the funds for that anybody makes goes towards one person. They don't donate it to a research center that, you get 1 penny, this person gets 2 cents. They give it to one person.
Yeah, help medical bills or whatever.
Exactly.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah. So I'm down for that.
Yeah, that's going to make 100%. You feel good.
Yeah.
What about pooping in your clown pants?
Pooping in the clown pants. Here's the story about pooping in the clown pants. When I was training, Branch actually used to come down to my gym all the time, and Big J's Extreme Fitness, and Jay would come down there and other people. We were doing bent over rows, and you can imagine the pressure that you have on your abdominal wall, and just depending on how tight your core is.
We've all been there.
And
tight core but loose butthole.
Yeah, just blatant disregard of anything going on back behind you there. So Jay, of course, is always farting when he's doing the bent over rows, and I'm laughing. And Branch is pissed. You motherfucker, shut the fuck up. Let's train. God damn it, we're to train. And so we can't stop laughing like we're like 6 years old in church or something, right?
Getting in trouble.
Yeah, we're getting in trouble. So I'm doing the bent over rows, and I'm actually farting like every movement. I go up and I fart, and I kind of go half back down and fart and go down and fart and
Well, that's
control.
Uncharted territory right there.
That is uncharted territory. And so Jay
That's
cannot
3
stop
farts
laughing.
per rep. That's high. That's a high ratio.
Yeah, it's kind of
Even
a good
for this
thing.
podcast.
Lots of gas. Lots of gas.
Yeah.
So this is in my gym, and there's people that are walking through, and we're in kind of the back room, which was the deadlift room, and I had somebody walking a couple through.
The back room is always the deadlift.
That's right. Yeah,
Keep all the animals caged. in
Yeah,
the back.
exactly. There's a cage, and there's a shitter in the corner, and then there's throw up bucket in the other corner. And so there was this really, I don't know, they had like fancy clothes on. They were like the upper echelon of the area. And so I'm bent over, and Jay is laughing, and Branch has got this, get the fuck out and do this set now.
Right.
And so just as soon as I hit pay dirt, the couple that had a lot of money walked in, and I shit all over myself. And the
Thought you were
pants,
being funny.
yeah, I thought it was funny. But the pants were kind of tannish color. They weren't dark, so
Yeah.
you saw the darkness of the backside.
Darkness on the edge of town.
It was definitely the dark side. And so Jay is laughing his ass off. And the guy is actually a cool guy. And the wife is like, oh, my God. And so I dropped it, and I stood up, and I looked at him. I had like this 3 little rascals look on my face. Look, did you guys just see me shitting my pants? And then the guys looking at me like, hell, fucking yeah, I'm coming back to join this place. These guys shitting their pants. And the woman's like, oh, I'm so appalled. I'm never going to come back. So the guy's name was Roland Brown, actually. He was a badass bench presser, and so he was a member for about 10 years until he moved away. And so he came back, and he goes, hey, you remember me? And I said, no, sir, because this was like a month later. I was like, God, I lost those members. I need to stop shitting on myself while I'm training. And so he came back. He goes, is this the gym that you get to shit on yourself while you're training? I was like, yeah, that guy, yeah. He goes, I'd like to pay for 2 years up front, please.
That's great.
It's a good time.
So when you'd walk people through the gym, you could tell them that's where I shit my pants right there.
This is the shit in your
and
pants
over
section.
here is the cardio equipment. and
Yeah,
over
if you have
here
to
is
puke, you go over here. If you have shit in your pants, you go over here. Good times, man.
Man, you got 2 years out of or 10 years out of him, you said.
Yeah, man. Good member. And a great bench presser. No legs, but all, seriously intense chest train. And it kept me back into, because I was benching a lot before then, but it got me back into the swing of benching. And to be truthful with you, I haven't benched in a long time until up about maybe 2 months ago, and I started benching again.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So it's good. It's fun.
You're talking about the intensity of your workouts. Is there anything you've learned from training with these guys and going through these brutal workouts, or anything you put yourself through that can kind of help transition into your everyday life? The different brutal workouts you kind of put yourself through.
It'd be kind of cliche to say use intensity every day.
Yeah.
Everything that you do.
When you wake up.
Yeah, wake up with intensity and brush your freaking teeth with intensity.
Shit your pants with intensity.
Yeah, just, everything else that you're involved with intensity. I don't know. I think basically, obviously, the definition of intensity is like a primal focus, just to stay focused on what you're doing. Intensity in school, intensity driving, not to have an accident, intensity with your relationship, with your family and your friends. But I don't know, just focus on being a better you.
Right.
With your lifting, with your life, with your job. And if you don't like what you're doing in life, change it.
And I guess the only way to get better is to push.
That's right.
I guess that's kind of my point. Is like
progressively
when
overload your entire life.
When you're getting in the middle of these workouts and you have kind of a gut check.
Mm-hmm.
You said you literally had one. You had to throw up, and you had to come back in and train. And I think there's a lot of valuable lessons in those workouts. Not just to say like, oh, I'm going to carry this into my life and I'm going to live my life the way that I lift, sort of thing. More so in just I'm going to push myself hard in a lot of different avenues and just see where the fuck it's going to take me.
Right.
Kind of more along those lines,
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Mark.
Yeah, I summed it up for you there.
Yeah.
You go. I answered the
That's
question.
kind of what I was going to say, but, okay. It's cool, whatever.
whatever, bro.
Yeah.
So you have any shows coming up or any expos you're hitting up, anything like that?
No, I'm actually going to go back down to Huntington Beach. I've got a couple more videos I'm going to shoot with Martial Club and fight tips. So we do some, martial arts videos and punching and kicking and whatnot, which is completely outside of my box because I'm a fat old powerlifter, bodybuilder, has been kind of.
Have you always been into martial arts?
Yeah, I've played with it and practiced it a lot, you know,
Right.
back when I was younger. Same as powerlifting and bodybuilding. I've dabbled in boxing, so I like to play and get knowledgeable enough to hurt myself, and then I, you know, do something else. It's just keeping, you know, just keeping the dictionary open or the encyclopedias open, just continuing to read and educate yourself. It's like going to another country, you know. I like going to another city, just experience.
Before we drop off here, something just popped in my head.
Okay.
You know, you've had a long history of being involved in some form of law enforcement. We can say that, right?
Yeah.
So I guess I'd like to get your take on, do you think there can be anything that could help with these situations that are happening where there's these mass shootings, you know, like what happened in Orlando where there's 49 people killed?
Yeah, that's horrible.
Do you have, I mean, trying to figure out a solve for it's not an easy thing. But I was wondering if somebody with your tactical background had any suggestions or solutions to
Parenting.
anything that can help with some of this stuff.
Parenting.
Yeah, being a better parent.
Yeah, it starts at the bottom.
Being present.
Starts for day one. My grandpa taught me in the 70s how to spell love. Do you know how to spell love?
How do you spell it?
T-I-M-E. Spend time with your loved ones.
There you go.
Don't let anybody
I like
else
that.
raise your kids. Unless you're a jerk off, and then, you know, you need to let somebody else raise your kids. But it
Silent
starts...
Mike doesn't spend any time with his kids. He's got like 5 of them.
Yeah.
all around the world.
Right on.
Mostly on Instagram.
It just...
Instagram baby. He's got those Instagram
He's
babies.
got Insta kids. Yeah, so basically the truth is, you know, parents don't discipline their children properly. And I'm not talking about beating them to death, although I did beat my kids for a little while when they were younger.
A little bit.
It's you know, not allowing them to watch certain things on television. You know, it's not letting them go to certain events that they're going to be exposed to stuff that they don't need to be around. There's no way we're going to solve war. There's no way we're
Right.
going to solve hate. It's part of life. I wish we could, but
Right.
there's no way. But you can start solving it with yourself, and then, you know, teaching that to your children, and hopefully your
Right.
children will pay it forward.
Yeah, I guess that is all you can do is try to teach them what you feel is best, and that they're most well equipped to handle certain things a certain way.
Teach your kids self-defense too.
Yeah,
Self-defense and how to be
maybe
at
like
one
street
with your-
awareness of some sort. You know,
I
right?
talk to my kids all the time about coming
Emergency
out the store.
situations.
Yeah, how to change a tire. Don't pull over on the side of the road. You know, I'd rather replace a wheel than a life. You know,
Yeah.
drive
Yeah.
a little bit farther and get into a parking lot that's well lit. Call somebody before you even
Don't
get out
be
of your
like
car.
Dad. Don't get run over.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially having 2 little girls. It's a little different.
Yeah.
And, you know, the biggest thing that I can say, I see people, and I watch people, I'm a people watcher big time. I see people with their heads down walking across the street out in a parking lot, you know,
Yeah.
looking at their cell phone with their bag of money in this arm and then the bag of groceries in this arm, and they don't even look up to see if there's anybody standing around their car. You know, they've got all their money in their hands, and they don't even crank their car or put
Right.
their seatbelt on or lock the door. I say leave your phone in your pocket, get to your car, be aware of who's around your car, because a lot of times it's dark in these shopping centers.
Right.
Like the big shopping centers, there's cars. People can crouch down behind the cars and wait for an innocent little old sweet lady or a teenager girl or whatever. Get to your car, shut your door, lock your door, turn your car on, put your seatbelt on, then maybe check your messages.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
Right.
just keep your head out of your ass, which means keep your head out of your phone,
Right.
you know?
If you walk to your car in a dark parking lot, do you go straight there or do you?
I like to look for trouble.
Yeah.
He's like that running back that doesn't look for the sidelines. He looks for the next guy to run over. He can easily just run out of bounds and play another down.
Yeah. Let's see if I can knock this linebacker out. Hey, did you have that knife for me? I'm sorry, sir.
He walks right past his car through the dark alley and then back around and into his car.
I don't have any money in my pocket, or do I?
Whoops, drop that $100 bill.
Oh, my cell phone has no service back here.
Oh my God, my watch has fallen off.
Pretty watch, boy.
I dropped my wallet.
What about LA Fit Expo or the Olympia or the Arnold? Are you going to be present at any of those things?
Been going to those for a long time, and I kind of pulled back from that, especially this last year because.
Come on, man. We want to see you there.
Well,
buddy.
and I'm going to go
Come
back to
on,
them. I
come
promise.
on.
I just because getting the product in a lot of the other stores, I had appearances during those that were. Not because I wanted to go make money. It was because I wanted to spend time at those stores.
Money hungry son of a bitch.
I know. money whore.
Jesus Christ, anything for a buck.
Yeah, exactly. So I just want to spend time with the stores that carry the product, and that's really my number one priority, just to hang out and make sure that they have my cell phone number, and if they want anything, I want to be there for them. Again, I'm not a huge company. I'm probably the smallest one out there, but I definitely want to make them know that I'm there for them. But yeah, next year I'll be starting to run to the competitions again.
All right. Well,
I do want to say one thing real quick.
Hit it.
The slanger. Let's talk about it.
Let's talk about it.
Yeah, man.
Slanging those sling shots.
That and the knee sleeves. I got to say, first off and foremost, a real quick story. I've never been able to squat more than 2 wheels without wrapping my knees because of jumping out of airplanes and helicopters and road marching and squatting for 30-plus years. Now I'm a recipient of the black knee sleeves, and they have saved my life. I'm telling you,
Yeah,
man.
you were telling me yesterday. You were all fired up. You said you couldn't squat anything over 2 plates without wrapping your knees up in a pair of knee wraps. So that's I'm glad they helped you.
Thank you so much. And I'm back to squatting 4 wheels.
They helped my old ass a lot, too. I was having trouble getting off my couch for a little while. I don't know if I just over-squatted myself. I think I told you, with the pit shark that we have.
Yeah.
And my knees were killing me for months on end.
Tendonitis, right?
Yeah, I couldn't get rid of it.
Yeah.
And, I made the product, so for me to sit here and talk about it gets to be a little ridiculous, but they did help.
Yeah, they definitely helped me, and I'm squatting 400 pounds with no knee pain whatsoever, so that's great. And the Slanger, I've only used it 4 times now. Yes, it was the 4th time. I finally actually put it on properly.
Oh, yeah.
And it felt good.
Yeah.
But the first time I used it was from Strongman Seth. He had one, and I benched 315 for a couple of 3 or 4 reps.
Yeah, I think I told you. I saw a few of your videos before I ever saw you in the slingshot. Mm-hmm. And I was watching a video, and you threw the slingshot on, and then you banged out 315 for like some enormous amount of reps.
Yeah, there was a couple. I think I did 33 or 34
Yeah,
reps.
that's a lot of damn reps.
Yeah, they were partial. They were 10th reps.
But it was kind of neat. I got excited because I was just watching, and then I watched a few other ones, and then I watched you in the sling. I'm like, he's wearing a slingshot.
Yeah, and this is cool that I'm here, man. I really appreciate you having me on the show.
Yeah, cool.
But back to the knee sleeves. Thank you so much. The slingshot's amazing. And now, because of the elbow injuries, I am wearing your new blue sleeves, and those are amazing as well.
Yeah, there you go.
So I need a strong hat, a strong T-shirt, a strong jock strap if you have those.
Thong.
Are those
Strong thong.
strong panties? Like
Yeah, strong
got 'em.
thong. Yeah, so
yeah.
I'll be geared up.
All right. Well, it was awesome having you on the show. Where can people find you on the internet?
BigJ'sExtremeFitness.com. That's my website. Big J's Extreme Fitness, YouTube, and then all the other platforms are there on the website.
Sorry, you're not allowed to plug any of that due to contractual obligations. Like, well, why the fuck did you ask? All right. Well, if you run into Jay, don't piss him off. He's still trying to turn over a new leaf.
Working on some internal anger issues still.
Yeah, he's got some fat aggression that he needs to get out. Anyway, multiply your hustle, multiply your muscle, and may all your shits be tapered. I'm at Mark Smillybell on Instagram and Twitter. Later.
Big shout out to all our sponsors, bodybuilding.com and 8Man Strong, keeping the show going. And I'm at Silent Mike with 2 Ks.
And some Caveman Coffee. I'm Jim McD, STTV, everywhere that I would want you to find me. Follow the show on Instagram. We are at Mark Bell's PowerCast.
Peace.
Mark Bell's PowerCast is a production of supertraining.tv.